And if you want to. Hello, everybody. My name is Dave Myers. I'm with the Berks Alliance. We want to welcome you to this interesting session today. Hopefully you find it interesting and valuable. It's a beautiful day here in Berks County, and we hope that while you're spending time with us indoors watching this, that later today you'll get outside and do something interesting. And I think we're going to show you at least one interesting place you might want to go visit when you get outside. So I'm going to introduce John Weidenhammer, who is the chair of the Berks Alliance, and he'll do some brief remarks, and then we'll come back and get started with the event. John?
Thanks, Dave, and thank you, Dave, for working so hard to make the arrangements to put on this program today. I also want to thank our presenters, Kim Murphy and Tami Shimp from Berks Nature. This really is an important community resource, so we're really happy to bring this story to you today. Most of you heard me say this before, but the Berks Alliance is a collaboration of anchor institutions in Berks County with a focus on community development. And we have this series of both community conversations and spotlight series where we try to highlight some of the important things that are going on in Berks County. And you can find out more about what the Berks Alliance is doing by going to our website at berksalliance.org. And we will, at the end of the session, be posting a video of this presentation to our website. So again, thanks to presenters, thanks to Dave for organizing this, but most importantly, thanks to all of you for tuning in and supporting the work of the Berks Alliance. It's really important to us. So thanks so much. So back to you, Dave.
Thank you, John. What we're going to do is ask everybody to turn on your cameras so we see that we're dealing with live people and not just photographs, but to keep your microphones muted during the presentation. We will ask you to submit any questions or comments that you have through the chat function. Depending on how many people we have and what kinds of questions and comments we have at the end of this, I'll read those, or we will have you ask your own questions. Again, this is going to be, I think, a very, very interesting and exciting opportunity for people. If you're not familiar with Berks Nature, the Nature Place is an amazing place, but they do other stuff in Berks County that's very, very important. And we're going to learn a little bit about all of that today. As John mentioned, we have two people from the Berks Nature who are with us today. Berks Nature is the conservancy for Berks County, and it does an immense amount of great work in terms of environment protection and environmental education, environmental stewardship. We have Kim Murphy, who is the president of Berks Nature and has been with them for a long time, and Tami Shimp, who is the VP for Development and Community Relations, who's been there even longer. So I'm going to turn it over to the two of you. I think, Tami, you're going to start, and we will get going. Thank you all.
Thank you, Dave and John and everyone at the Alliance. We're happy to be here. We'll get a minute to get our presentation in presentation mode. While we're working on that, I can start by saying that Berks Nature is a 501c3 nonprofit organization. Just like many other great organizations here in Berks. We were established in April of 1974, so we're 48 years old and have been doing really great work around the county since that time, and in more recent years really took more of a leadership role in environmental education as well. So what Kim and I have planned to do during your lunch hour is really just take you through like who we are, what we do, and we'll take a break and have a tour of our facility, which you'll learn all about, and then wrap up with kind of where we're headed in the future. So it'll be a speedy lunch and you'll learn a lot, I hope. We believe nature is essential to our quality of life. That's really what drives a lot of Berks Nature's work. We do that. I like to explain that our work kind of falls into two major buckets. We protect nature, which really is a lot of our land and water management work that we'll learn more about. And then we connect people to nature. That's our other bucket. Everyone likes to connect to nature in different ways, and we help them do that through a variety of programs. So we'll move right into the land kind of management and use part of our work on the next slide. Conservation easements are a way to permanently protect land in our county. And in Berks County, we have two people you can call if you're interested in permanently protecting your land. The Berks County Department of Ag is focused on farmland and all of our agricultural land. They have protected over 80,000 acres. Tami's here, I believe, so correct me if I'm wrong. And really do a lot of great ag protection work. And then the other phone call you can make is to Berks Nature. So we focus on farmland, wetlands, other types of open space. We can also protect ag land, but we typically refer people to the county first. So again, conservation easements is a great tool. I'll spend a few minutes on like what that actually is and what that means. But we could spend a whole hour just on that topic in the future. So Berks Nature really does our land protection work primarily through the easements. We help facilitate land transfers. So sometimes someone, maybe the Game Commission wants to own some woodland, and we'll help facilitate and get that woodland wrapped up into the Game Commission. And we also acquire land outright. We don't own tons of land. We own about 500 to 600 acres. Our preferred way of protecting land is through the conservation easements, because the landowner still owns the land and they still manage their land, but they have restrictions on how it can be used in the future. So basically it protects land primarily from development. And so let's just take a moment to use this as an example. So let's say Dave Myers has 100 acres of woodland that he wants to make sure is always woods. Sounds easy enough. We do that through a conservation easement. Dave calls our office, we do our homework, and make sure it's a right fit for our organization and our goals, make sure it's a right fit for Dave and his family. It's a big decision. And at the end of the day, which could be 6 months from the day of that first phone call, we sit down at a table together. We negotiate what this easement looks like. You know, it's basically a 30-page document that prescribes what the future of that land can be used as. And he signs it, we sign it, it goes to the recorder of deeds office, gets recorded with the property, and it follows the property forever. So Dave could decide to pack up and leave and move to California the following year. That's okay. That land is still protected by this easement document, and it follows the land, not the owner. And that's really important. And so what's the benefit of Dave? Well, in our program here at Berks Nature, we don't have a pot of money that says, okay, we're going to reimburse the landowner X number of dollars per acre for this conservation easement. Instead, there's a donation that some landowners take advantage of. So let's pretend his woodland was worth $500,000. When you put that conservation easement over the property, you've now reduced the value of the land. And so now let's say just cut the value in half. I'm making this up. So the difference in what it's worth fair market value today and what it's worth after it's protected is considered a charitable contribution to Berks Nature. And current law says that we can take advantage of that income tax deduction up to 50% of our adjusted gross income for that year and the following 15 years. So it can be a good financial planning tool for some people. But at the end of the day, people do this because they care and want their land protected in their heart. We're never going to compete with fair market value. Okay, now we'll move on to the question we receive all the time, which is, how do you decide which land you're going to protect? We have a big county, and this happens to be Kim Murphy's favorite map. Of course, it's in the presentation. This map highlights the top 20, the red areas represent the top 20% of the highest conservation value land in Berks. So the big red part of the top left, big red zone is what we call the Kittatinny Ridge. I call it the Blue Mountains. That's where Hawk Mountain is. There's hundreds of acres, thousands of acres of state game lands up there. It's all wooded. Basically, the red zones are pristine wooded areas that really have been untouched by humans. And that tends to be where we find the best conservation value land. It doesn't mean that's the only place we work, of course. But this is a tool in our toolbox that helps us prioritize where we're going. If we do have a grant, for example, to focus on land protection, where does it make sense to do that? And this again, really helps us prioritize certain areas. We work all over the county, but I thought this was a helpful tool to show you the science behind some of these decisions. And then the next map is our Planning Commission future land use map. So basically, this is another tool in our toolbox that we care very much about. And the County Planning Commission has done a super job in identifying areas that should be protected, which is green and brown. Brown is the agricultural preservation areas. Green is rural conservation. So you might find that those woodlands we talked about, open areas, and then all the other colors of red, orange, and pink represent existing growth or future growth. And we stay away from those areas. Our board and our team here subscribes to this plan, and we focus on green and brown when we work with our private landowners. And we believe in growth. We believe there's a good balance that can occur here in the county, and that those growth areas identified on this map are where that growth should occur. And again, when our landowner makes that initial phone call to Berks Nature, this is the kind of homework we do behind the scenes. There's a scoring system in place, and I know the county ag program has a very similar scoring, ranking program that they utilize to help prioritize properties to protect. But overall, I'd love to say Berks County is just really doing a great job with land protection. There's still a lot more work to do. But if our municipalities, subscribe to this plan that we're looking at here, and we move forward, I think we'd have a really balanced land use picture in Berks County. We can move on to our public use. So what we just covered really talks a lot about private land protection. It's voluntary private land protection. We also love to open properties up for public use as well. So we manage numerous preserves, nature preserves. You can see them here on your screen. I won't get into all the details there, but they are all on our website, which is berksnature.org. And we manage about 27 miles of trails within these preserves that you're looking at here. So it's a great way for people to connect the outdoors. Berks County is also so lucky, most of you probably know this, to have an abundance of natural resources, really. This is just a small snapshot. So these places that Berks Nature manages complement some of the other more popular places you may have heard about, like Blue Marsh, Grings Mill, all the other open spaces and trail systems that we have. but these happen to be places that we recommend and that we actively manage for people and for wildlife. We're going to move right along to water. And water and land protection are really married. I mean, you can't really do one without the other. The best way to protect our water resources is to protect the land that surrounds them. So a lot of our land protection work does consider water resources when we prioritize those projects. And we focus a lot of our protection around drinking water supplies here in Berks. So this is what I always encourage you to think about. Where's your water coming from? You know, whether you're sitting at home right now or in your office or at a school, where's that water coming from? You know, who you're paying your bill to. And you almost have to be an investigator sometimes to figure out that answer. But we have a variety of water suppliers in Berks, and they're all doing a really good job of making sure that that water supply is protected before it's funneled underground into your home or workplace. So the Reading Area Water Authority, Western Berks, Pennsylvania American, a lot of individual municipalities, we partner with them almost every day on, hey, what are you doing? How can we help? Let's plan these best management practices next year. We also help grassroots organizations and interested landowners get involved through our watershed associations, which you see on the screen as well. So there's a lot of work in our county focused around water. Whether you care about the environment or not, you need to care about your water supplies. So it's a great way for us to connect to people. Our next slide shows that agriculture is, you know, our #1 land use in Berks. It's our #1 industry. So of course we work with a lot of farmers, not just on the land protection side. This is more focused on the installing best management practices. And what is a best management practice? It could range from the stream bank fencing you see on the left side of the screen to installing a gutter on your barn, you know, something as simple as that, a rain spout, to a more extensive right side of your screen, which is a liquid manure storage facility. All of these kinds of practices help the farmer have a more efficient and sustainable operation. You know, we want them to be successful, and it helps the water. So these are practices put into place that'll help reduce runoff into our water supplies. We're really fortunate to work with some pretty large outside grant resources. And we leverage over $1 million each year coming into Berks County for projects like you see here from outside of Berks County. So it's an expensive program. These practices are not cheap, but we've been able to cost share with some of these landowners to help make them possible, again, for the benefit of the industry and for the benefit of our water supplies. We also do those kinds of best management practices on non-agricultural land. There's things we can all do in our backyard, again, at work, at school, at church, at home, to help benefit the environment. This photograph before and after is looking at a school campus. So we have done some great projects on some of our local school district properties. This one happens to be the Wilson School District, Green Valley Elementary. They used to have that basin, which we see everywhere. Business, shopping centers, municipalities, we mow. And in some cases, you don't need to mow everything. So we helped this school turn the basin into a native pollinator meadow. So not only is it benefiting wildlife, but the school is saving a little bit of money on not mowing it anymore. So that's a message that we, try to help implement at schools and other properties as well. Planting trees is another best management practice you can install on your own property that has so many benefits for wildlife and the water supplies. Each October and April, Berks Nature plants over 1,000 large mature trees each of those months around properties like this or in public parks, on our nature preserves, things like that. You know, one of my favorite statistics is one oak tree, one mature oak tree can host 534 different species of moths and butterflies. So oak trees are really the powerhouse of the environment here, but anything makes a difference. And we demonstrate a lot of those differences at what we call home, which is the Nature Place. The Nature Place is Reading's Nature Center. We are open to the public. You're going to get a tour of the property. And this was built, the original part of our Nature Center was built in 2017 and is a LEED Gold certified building. So what does that mean? It means that the environment was considered in the design and construction of this site. We used a lot of reclaimed materials and demonstrate a lot of green features that other businesses and homeowners can gain ideas from and replicate in their own environments. So in March of this year, we opened an addition to the Nature Place called the Rookery. Educational moment. It's not easy for me to ask everybody if they know what a rookery is, so I'll just spoil it and tell you. But the name was inspired by what blue herons use as nesting colonies, and it's called a rookery. So a rookery is really like a gathering of nests and birds high up in the trees. And this addition to the Nature Place is a second-story addition high up in the trees and a place for people to gather. So we do call it the Rookery, and Kim is working on sharing a video that we're going to talk you through to give you, as best as we can, a live tour of the Nature Center and these great green features. So I'm going to hand it off to Kim right now.
Thanks, Tami. And so you see us walking into the Nature Place. It is located at Angelica Creek Park, which is a city-owned park. We have a long-term lease with the city, and we share the park also with Alvernia University. So they are our neighbor and partner. Even though we're a separate organization, we have three parties coming together to make the park usable and safe and programmed. So we are really thrilled with that partnership. Some of you may be familiar with the history of Angelica Park. There used to be a lake there. If you come and spend some time on our rooftop deck, there's a whole signage system about the history of the park. So I'll let Tami talk about the lobby.
Yes. So you've just walked into our lobby. Ignore that lady. This is the piece that's always open to the public and usually full of children. One of our best green features at the Nature Place are the windows. Bird strike reduction glass was utilized throughout the entire building, and we have a lot of windows. Every day in the United States, 1 million birds are killed or injured due to collisions with buildings. And we did not want to contribute to that terrible statistic. So the windows help with reduce bird strikes. This is our pollinator exhibit. We have a live honeybee hive. At the bottom of the hive there, the bees can come and go as they please. There's an exit there for them. A PVC pipe goes right out of our wall to the outdoors. And it's a great way for us to contribute pollinators back into the environment. When that hive swarms, we can estimate about 30,000 bees go back into the environment each time. And then we have a store and active hands-on displays that we like to share with the public. When we talk about reclaimed materials, the wood we're looking at here is from mushroom houses in Chester County. Berkey found them in a stockyard, and this wood in a stockyard, and we were able to reuse it for the construction. A lot of the green features to me are just common sense. And here's our LEED Gold certified stamp. Again, that's a ranking of the United States Green Building Council. When I talk about common sense, I mean, there's our elevator. It's tucked behind the wall. It's actually a green feature because the architects would have typically put that right at the entrance or of the building. And because it's tucked behind the wall, people tend to use the stairs instead, which saves energy. This is our watershed hallway, I should say. Watershed education is a huge part of what we do for adults and children. Most of you have probably heard of the Chesapeake Bay. It's been well branded, but in Berks County, we need to care about the Schuylkill River, which is where 90% of us drain to. So as you explore the nature place, you learn about our watersheds, you learn about the Schuylkill River, and learn about where you live. What's your backyard? As we walk down the hallway, we enter one of our classrooms here. This is during camp season, so it's considered a dirty classroom right now. But on the other side of the room, you see those windows. That whole wall opens up, which is another great feature of the nature place. It provides for an outdoor-indoor kind of classroom. And when those are cleaned up from EcoCamp, we rent them pretty often. So I'll point out all the spaces that we do open to the public and allow for rentals. Renting space at the nature place is a pretty nice part of our business. We like to share the space with the community. As we walk up the stairs here, you'll see the stairs are also made from reclaimed wood from an industrial site, so slightly different story. But this is all reclaimed materials that we reused here at the nature place. And the outside of the building, which we're not focused on today, has stone that was reclaimed from barns in the Northeast. Even our carpet is green at the nature place, or sustainable. It's made from 52% recycled content and comes in individual tiles. So if Kim spills her coffee on the carpet, we don't have to replace the entire landing. We just replace a few tiles. What does that mean? It's less junk going to the landfill. It's more sustainable. This is our large conference room. This is rented most often at the nature place. It's very popular. It seats about 20 people. All of our rooms are equipped with the fancy big TV and screens and equipment you need to run an efficient, great meeting. So again, we like to think of this building as the environmental club hangout of Berks. People are in and out of here all the time. To our right here, you'll see a reusable water bottle station. So if you do rent our conference room for the day, I'll pick on Dave again. Let's pretend Dave is hosting a meeting here and he has hired his own caterer and they're spending the day here. Dave knows when he signs our contract that he cannot bring in single-use plastic water bottles. We provide you with everything you need: pitchers, glasses, plates, silverware. Don't bring disposables into the property. And it's our way of helping inspire behavior change to others in Berks. Thanks, Kim. You don't see me run very often. We're going to enter our office space. So Berks Nature has a staff of 18 and we're growing, which is exciting. So we have a very open office space that takes advantage of natural light. This was a very intentional design. We do not use much electricity here on the second floor because we have so many windows. We'll take a chance now to look out the window at our pollinator meadow. and our teaching garden. The fenced area is what we call our teaching garden. The only reason it's fenced is because of the deer. But we do a lot of teaching out there with children and adults. And then the rest of this view is all native plants and a rain garden. The views from the nature place are just beautiful. Angelica Park is a gem. And there's a network of trails that go throughout the entire park. So when you do come to visit us, there's much more to see than just what you're seeing today inside the Nature Center. The Angelica Creek runs right behind out these windows here, and comes from, it passes past Alvernia University, comes through the park, and ends up in the Schuylkill River just below the nature place. So the Angelica Creek is our baby, and we take very good care of her here in the park. Our lighting system adjusts to the amount of sunlight that's outside. So it automatically will dim itself, not just when you enter or leave a room, but depending on the amount of sunlight we have in the park on that given day. So again, the whole intent of all of that is to reduce energy costs. We're going to enter the rookery right now. And this is the new addition that I mentioned earlier. It's a second story deck that we're on right now. There's actually a Brentwood storm tank, which was manufactured right across the street here over at 10 at Brentwood Industries. Under the property, that green grassy circle we just looked at, and all the stormwater from this addition has its own downspout system and runs into the Brentwood storm tank, and it filters back into the ground where it belongs. And then these rain barrels here we use for our plants and education is another way of storing stormwater. So again, we really just try to demonstrate best practices that might inspire you to think about, oh, wow, well, I could do that at home. The bird strike glass, for example. No, I don't expect people to replace their windows, but there's inexpensive other things you can do and purchase in our store that help deter bird strikes. This space is used quite often for events, and I'm sure you can see why as we look around here. It's just gorgeous open space. It is covered, so you do not have to worry about rain when you're out here. We have, but it is quite open and used for field trips and a lot of private events. We have our first wedding coming up in a few short weeks. So it's quickly become a destination for many events because of this great indoor-outdoor space here. We have a lot of educational signage that teaches you about the history of the park, which of course used to be a lake. And in 2001, a big storm came through this area of Reading and busted the dam. And what was left is what you see there. It was a plain, empty lake bed. And we've worked with the city and other partners over many years to restore this park into a great wildlife habitat. And you can find a lot of birds here. It's become a very popular birding destination because of our close proximity to the Schuylkill River and because of all the good native things we grow here. These pavers that we're walking on are cement pavers that allow the stormwater to filter beneath it, through it and beneath it, and then end up down in that Brentwood storm tank, which is under that grassy circle there that you see. There's a lot of green features just hidden here that you wouldn't even realize are green features unless we told you about it, and the pavers are one of them. As we look out to the view, you'll see our large nature play area. This is so popular. So think playground without playground equipment. We use all natural materials, and the kids just use their imagination here. It's open to the public. It's part of the public opportunities here, but our preschoolers and campers use it quite often as well. Nature play is so important. Okay, we're entering the inside part of the rookery now. You can see our artsy watershed wall there. It's showing you the Schuylkill River in a pretty way on the wall. This indoor part of our space seats 150 people. So that's the capacity for an event. And all of, a lot of the features we already saw in the other part of the building, the windows, the reclaimed mushroom boards, things like that also exist here. And we just carried a lot of that green features over into this space. The chairs that you see around the tables are made from milk jugs. So they're, made from recycled content. What you see ahead of you is sheep's wool. So the entire rookery is insulated with sheep's wool instead of traditional fiberglass insulation. So it's better for the environment and does a really great job of insulating our space. So again, we really invite you to come see these green features in person and learn more about it, because this was just a quick overview to try to squeeze it into our lunch hour here. But would love to see you visit anytime. And if you have a group of colleagues or students or friends that you'd want to bring, we often do group tours. I'm going to pass it back to Kim now to talk about where we're headed.
All right. Thanks, Tami. There we go. All right. So as Tami mentioned, we're very proud of our Nature Place area. Eco Camp and education activities are very important to what we do. We really feel a responsibility to grow the next generation of conservationists. So we just finished 9 weeks of summer camp. It's a day camp for children K through, well, really age 3 through 6th grade. We had over 100 kids here every day, and they have been in the creek. They take bike hikes, they hike all over, they learn archery. It's just really a joy to see the location be utilized with children. There is a statistic that I'll share with you. In the United States, only 1%, the average child in the United States spends about 1% of their time in unstructured free play outside. So they're actually prisoners in prisons and jails actually get more time outside than the average child in the United States. And the reason why unstructured free play is so important is that it enables children to take risks that they might not do during structured activities. They have to negotiate and learn how to work with others. If you want to play in the teepee or in the bird's nest and somebody else wants to play with the water, you have to negotiate and talk about who's going to do what first and how you're going to make that happen. And I think as employers, we all want adults who are able to behave that way. And so these kids really own the park, and we are so hopeful that for the future. We've actually been running our eco camp for so long that we had some of our campers are coming back now as counselors, which is really pretty cool. In 2018, we opened the first nature preschool. So again, one of our mottos at Berks Nature is there's no such thing as bad weather, only bad clothing. These children are very proud about what they've done to their clothing. They spend about 85% of their day outside. We are licensed by the Department of Human Services, and we currently have, we're currently at capacity. We have over 60 families involved, so we have a wait list at this point. So where is the organization headed? I'll just take a few minutes so we have time to talk about, answer any questions. But our strategic plan really looks to kind of change people's relationship with nature. So we know that we want to expand our environmental and conservation education programs, and we are starting to look to do that at different locations throughout the county. Tami mentioned that we work all over Berks County. We actually work in Lebanon and Schuylkill County as well, and work with partners in other locations. So we're hoping that we will expand our eco camp, for example, and our nature preschool to other locations within the county so that more youth can have these kinds of experiences. We do a lot of education, as I mentioned, and as Tami mentioned, throughout the county, but focused both on children and adults. I hope you'll join us on November 3rd for our annual State of the Environment breakfast. This year we are talking about extreme weather, which we have been experiencing across the United States in particular this year. And we will have Lauren Casey, a meteorologist formerly with CBS 3, now with an organization called Climate Central, will be our speaker. So that's November 3rd at the Doubletree. We do work with schools, as Tami mentioned, but on the education side as well. We'll go into schools, they'll come here. One of the pictures that you see at the top right here is the Governor Mifflin Regatta. These students in their STEM courses work on building little boats. They design them, they build them, and then we have this amazing day where they and their parents and the teachers all come and we float them down the Angelica Creek, and it's a race and there are prizes, and it's just a great day. We have been very underfunded and understaffed for a long time, so one of our priorities is to invest in and grow our human resources to help facilitate the organization. You see part of the team here in the creek doing creek snorkeling as a team building activity. We do have a whole set of wetsuits, and if you want to do a team building activity and learn something about what's in the water, we're happy to set up a field trip for you and your staff as well. We have a very robust program called Berks Nature Ambassadors. These are volunteers who commit to a training program. It's about 7 sessions throughout the course of the winter and spring. And these are the folks that we rely on to help us run field trips, plant trees, do programming, and they're a great group of folks. Tami also mentioned our watershed associations, really important volunteers who are actively monitoring the quality of our watersheds and helping to connect people to the watersheds, as well as various programming and things that people can participate in. This is probably not a big surprise to most of you. I think all nonprofits have this as a goal in their strategic plan, but we will continue to increase and strengthen the funding of our organization. We were very fortunate to receive a really nice and healthy contribution that will help sustain our work, but we will always be asking for folks to help invest in the important work that we do throughout the county. We will continue to become more diverse and inclusive, with particular attention paid to BIPOC communities, the Black, Indigenous, people of color. We were fortunate this year to be able to hire 2 Latino women who are bilingual, who help with our education programs and our lobby. We have a nice diverse board as well, and we will continue to consider that a priority as we add folks to our team. One of the things that we're able to do through the support of EITC and some donors is provide the children who are at Olivet Boys and Girls Club and involved in the city through the Reading Recreation Commission, free field trips over the summer. So in some cases, this is the first time children have ever really been out in the woods or in nature. Certainly the first time they might have experienced getting in a creek, looking at macroinvertebrates, understanding what makes it healthy. And so we definitely subscribe to Nature for All. Everyone is welcome at our preserves and at Angelica Park. We will focus on utilizing the Nature Place to expand our educational programs and to grow the community's involvement in the preservation of natural resources. Tami talked a little bit about this in the tour, but here's a shot from 10 years ago of after the lake bed was drained. And you can see the former city boathouse, that tiny little blue speck in the background. And so it was really pretty barren area. It was now, it was designed as really an urban stormwater park. It's a very carefully planned system of wetlands to slow the water down as the stormwater reaches the Schuylkill River. But here's what it looks like today. Very lush, all of those trees we planted and managed the beautiful pollinator meadows and demonstration gardens. And then 5 years ago, as I said, it's not even 5 years ago, it was in the middle of September 2017. So we're coming up on our 5-year anniversary of opening the Nature Place. And we're so fortunate that today that's what our facility looks like. And it's just more that we can share with the community. Our goal really is to change people's relationship with nature. We truly believe that nature is essential to our quality of life. We think it plays a role in economic development, in employer recruitment, and just in recreation, mental health, and health overall in our community. So with that, we can switch to any questions that anyone might have. If there's anything in the chat, I'll stop sharing, and we're happy to answer.
Great, thank you, Kim and Tami. Very, very good presentation. One quick thing I want to emphasize is to remind people that Angelica Park is a city park. It's in the city of Reading, and that's a pretty significant statement. How many kids go to the Echo Camp? How many kids did you have this year?
So we had about 100 kids a week. So I think we topped out at just slightly over 800 children. Now,
So
some of them are repeat. Yeah, some of them are
Right.
repeat customers, but 800 sort of unique individual
And
campers.
any idea where they came from? Was it a diverse group from across the county?
It is. Most people, I mean, the most popular would be, the areas in and around the park because it's convenient for parents to be able to drop them off. But we've had field trips as far away as the Philadelphia area. We've had homeschoolers come from the whole region. We've done teacher training from the whole region. And then we've got kiddos who do come from all over the county. But that's one of the reasons why we want to develop other sites throughout the county so that we can reach as many children as possible.
Where are you looking at to do those eco camps in other places? Any ideas yet?
Yeah, we're looking at Kircher Creek Park, potentially outside of Hamburg. They have the Fish and Game Commission have a nice facility there. We'd have to do some work with it. But we're trying to analyze right now the market data so that we go in places, obviously, where where we can be successful and where there's a need.
The Nature Place and the Angelica Park are very special, and they're obviously hidden assets. But what's your, other than the Nature Place and Angelica Park, what's your favorite thing you guys are engaged in? Tami, what about you? What would you tell people the other place you would tell them to go see that Berks Nature is involved with?
Wow, that's a tough one. Okay, so nothing beats here, but if you're forcing me to leave the Nature Place, Bob's Woods is one of my favorite nature preserves. It's a small little 30-acre property off of Pricetown Road in Alsace Township. It was actually donated to us in the late 70s by the Bortz family, and just kind of sat for a while. We never really had time to invest in improvements there until recent years. And it's a quiet, you're not going to hike a couple miles and get all out of breath. It's just you're going there to picnic, watch birds, look at all the pretty flowers. It's a smaller property. Yeah, but a great hidden spot in Berks. Directions are always.
My training is in elementary education, and I am a former kindergarten teacher, so I really can't leave the nature place. When I see these kids exploring this park and learning and sharing that with others, I mean, they own it, and I get great joy out of that.
We had a question about whether or not the maps that you had shown, the county map and your map, are accessible for people to take a closer look at, because I think they're very interesting to see the places that people are trying to preserve and the ones that are challenged, candidly. Are they available? And
They're available on the Planning Commission's website.
okay.
Yeah,
Right.
they belong to the Planning Commission, but yes, the updates are, in fact, there's probably a more updated one on their website than we even shared, but the updates are available.
And it looked like there was a lot of land in Berks County that could be protected or more protected than what it is. Is that your sense? Do we have a ways to go yet, or is a lot of it being taken care of already?
I mean, we think we have a ways to go. You know, when you think about water resources, there are some communities that, you know, have very little to no water resources, and they're in tremendous jeopardy. And that's going to affect the sustainability of their community and their economics. You know, we're very fortunate in Berks County to have a lot of those resources, but they're not, you know, just expendable. We need to use them wisely. We need to protect those that are our source water, you know, headwaters and source water plans. The forests help connect, you know, capture carbon. All of these things are very important to our well-being as humans, but also all of the other little critters that share this web of life with us. I often will share the statistic, and this publication is on our website under the State of the Environment, but just as an example, fishing is a $43 million business in Berks County.
Wow.
And if the creeks become impaired so much that they can't sustain fishing, then that piece of our economy that nobody is thinking about is going to go away. So it has a ripple effect in terms of how we treat our natural resources.
I know that some of the staff are doing some work with people in the 18th Ward on stormwater management, which is sort of an intriguing way of trying to deal with water resources. Are you able to help other places in the general area if they want to do work on that? I mean, what we're doing with agriculture and planting trees and stuff is really interesting. But what about property owners and homeowners and those kinds of people?
Yeah, we just, this past year, we did a series of courses on sort of changing parts of your individual personal property, planting native plants and species. One thing that is amazing to me that really brought the whole "we need to use natives" home is that birds can't feed their young seed, and each bird will only feed their young a certain caterpillar or worm or bug. And that certain caterpillar or worm or bug will only live on a certain tree or plant. And so if you eliminate that from your yard, you're not going to be able to sustain the caterpillar that feeds the bird that comes to your property. And so using native species is so important to the health of our community, but also, you know, the whole web of life that depends on it.
You had mentioned about the ambassador program. If somebody wants to volunteer to be an ambassador, how would they go about doing that, and what's it require them to do? Yeah,
so around February or so, we'll have signups for the new ambassador class. And there's usually a series of 7 or 8 courses that are in the evening and on weekends. They'll learn proper tree planting and water quality management, testing, and a variety of things, so that then they can plug into our programs as a volunteer wherever that you know, most interests them. So we have former teachers who like to help with education programs, but we have retired people who like to do water quality testing, and that's there's just tons of ways for people to be involved. We welcome it.
A couple other here that I'm losing track of what I'm trying to think of. Why don't I open it up? Does anybody have a question or comment that they want to share right now? Please feel free to unmute yourself and be concise and polite, but ask your questions or make your comments. Anybody have anything of value to say about how valuable Berks Nature has been to them, to their family, to the neighborhood?
I just want to say I haven't been there yet, but I really look forward to visiting. It looks wonderful and nice job.
Thank you.
It is an amazing place. It is an amazing place. Do you guys work with any other organizations? I know we've done a spotlight on the Science Center in downtown Reading, and I know Jim was on here for a bit. And I know we have the Science Research Institute that's doing some water sorts of stuff. Have you worked with any of those organizations?
Yeah, we work with a variety of partners throughout the community, municipalities, water authorities. We do work with SRI, the Science Research Institute. We've developed a program called One World, where we bring into the classroom both science activities and more environmental appreciation activities for the students. And we were in all the middle schools last summer. We work with the Conservation District and the Department of Ag and schools, partners, Schuylkill River Greenways, for example. I mean, there's enough work to go around that we can all work together for sure.
Okay, we're heading down to the end here, and I know there was a question and Tami submitted a written answer to it, but when is the October event and how do people sign up for it?
The event is actually November 3rd.
Okay. So
It's
we
a
have to
Thursday
correct that.
morning.
We'd have people showing up a month early.
We like to plan, but we won't be ready for you a month early. Now, November 3rd at 7:30 in the morning at the Doubletree downtown.
And how do they?
There's a link in the chat to where it takes you directly to where you can purchase tickets. And there's also sponsorship opportunities, which I would be your contact for that.
Great.
We're really excited for our speaker this year. I think she's going to be
It's
very
going to be interesting. Yeah. And, the weather has been incredible. I mean, we're losing plants at our house because we haven't had rain in 6 weeks. And the heat is, things are just changing and we need to be attentive to it and understand it. Well, thank you both. This has been a great session. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you found it valuable, but we're getting rounds of applause from Tami and other people. We will post this on the Berks Alliance website, and we'll send everybody who registered for it a copy of the video. Thank you. And if you don't do anything else today, get outside, do something outside. And if you have the chance, go visit them at the Berks Nature and the Nature Place, because it's just a spectacular building, but even more important, a very spectacular environment. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Dave. Thanks, Tami and Kim. Have fun, everybody. Enjoy the day.